Carolyn Dube here. Oh, what's the play for today? Well, today I'm messing around in my art journal, and it is all being driven by my desire to not have to clean anything I don't have to. That's going to be what helps me make a whole lot of decisions for this. And oh, also, there's going to be an ear of corn involved. I'm going to start the page by randomly gluing down pieces of paper, scraps, leftover remnants onto the page. I'm using gel medium to do this, and the reason why I am grabbing stuff out of that bin right there is not because it's the best paper to use, not because it has the look of what I want for this page, but because it's what's left out on the counter. The past couple of days have been filled with various cleaning projects, tasks, and things that needed to be done. And in all fairness, I created most of the problem, so it's fair that I had to clean it up. But I'm kind of tired of cleaning things up. So that's why I'm using things like that mini blade there, because it's not a paintbrush that I'm going to have to clean. At most, all I have to do is wipe it off, but even if I forget to do that because it's made out of silicone, the stuff will peel off of it later. And I know, washing out a paintbrush, it's not like it takes 6 hours to do it. It's absolutely not a Herculean task, but right now I am just avoiding any kind of cleaning that I can, even something as small as cleaning out a paintbrush. And that's going to play a role in the decision I'm about to make. Because once I get the papers on here, I want to add some color around here, but I don't want to use a paintbrush. So I thought I'd grab an ear of corn. Now I've recently played around with some Indian corn on a gel plate and loved it, but that used paintbrushes. This time I didn't want to use a paintbrush. I just squirted some paint right on there. And you know what? It's not doing it for me. It's not working. So what I'm going to do is just grab a gel plate and put it on there because I know it works on a gel plate. And I'll have the link down below for you of the video where I'm playing with it, and you get some great prints, great detail, which is not happening here. And why is it that I'm not getting some great prints with all the wonderful fun pattern that comes from the kernels? Well, that's just because I've got a whole bunch of paint on here. So to me, that's just an oops, an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly, and I'm going to take all that excess paint that I've got and use it to just build up the color in the background. Now, on top of not wanting to have to clean anything like a paintbrush, I also am feeling impatient, and I want to add more color on this, but I've got wet paint everywhere. So that means I need to find a way to apply some color where it won't be bothered by wet paint. And as a bonus, I get to play around with an art supply that I got my hands on recently, bought it in a couple of colors just to see what it was like. And these are things called solid markers. And they're called that because they're designed to mark on just about anything. So glossy surfaces, glass, plastic, that kind of stuff. That's why they're called a marker. Now this creamy color that's going on there, it takes about 5-10 minutes to dry because it is an oil-based kind of paint that's in there. Now that I've got a little color popping on here between the teal and that wonderful pink, and now I want to add something else. But I don't want to use a paintbrush. I don't want things I'm going to have to clean up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray paint. I've got my wrought iron stencil here, one that I designed for over at Stencil Go Products, and I'm just hitting it with a little bit of spray paint. I'm going to use a fancy tool here called a scrap of paper, and I'm going to cover up part of the stencil so that all I'm going to spray paint is the pattern down at the bottom. And since there's still paint on the stencil, I'm going to take it over here and I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to press it down to transfer that paint. I mean, I guess technically we could say that I'm cleaning there, but if cleaning was this much fun every time, I'd always be happy to clean. My impatience is flaring up here, so that's why I'm blotting off some of the excess spray paint just so it will dry faster. Now I had to laugh because as soon as I got done blotting that, I got called away with something I had to deal with, so it would have had plenty of time to dry even if I hadn't blotted it off. So that means everything on this page is completely dry. I could have come in with a paintbrush and added little touches of yellow paint. But I've still got that aversion to any excessive cleaning, like cleaning a paintbrush. So I decided to grab a palette knife instead. Apparently wiping one of these things off when I'm done, that doesn't feel like too much cleaning. But rinsing out a brush, yeah, that's just more than I can take right now. And hey, by the way, if you're enjoying this art journal play, if you're having fun and you want to see more of my videos, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll know as soon as I've got a new one out. Now, I might not be a very patient person, but my art journal is very patient with me. You see, as I'm putting the yellow on here, yep, I'm getting called away, something I have to deal with. So this art journal page is just going to be left with the yellow for a while. And a couple hours later, I'm going to come back and put on the next layer. This layer is tissue paper that I've done some reverse stenciling on using my Random Thought stencils. Now those stencils and all the ones that I've designed are available over at Stencil Girl Products. Now if you're thinking to yourself, wow, kind of hard to see all the words that are on there because of the color of the tissue paper, yep, you're absolutely right. If I'd done these in black, it would have made the words really bold and very, very easy to read. But here what I'm looking for is a layer. I want something that's not going to jump out quite so much. I want it to be a little more subdued. So that's why out of my stash of stenciled tissue papers, I chose the one that was in the teal color. Whenever I'm gluing tissue paper down, I find that it's easier if I've got a really runny glue or a fluid glue, as opposed to a thicker glue like a gel medium. It's a little more forgiving. I can get it nice and flat and let the transparency of the tissue paper shine. When I've got a bunch of that runny glue on the bottom, and then once I press the tissue paper into it, I put some runny glue on top. And then I simply wipe away the excess glue. Before I found these little spatulas, I would use a paintbrush to do this. And I found that the tissue paper would tear a lot more easily for me with a paintbrush. Now, I don't know if that's just a me thing in the way I do it, or if that's universal. But for me, I've found that using one of those little spatulas makes it easier to spread that glue on there, get it on top of it, wipe away the excess without actually destroying it. Because there are times where when I'd use the brush, somehow I'd end up ripping it in half and wadding it up in one section of the page, which was not the goal. But most importantly, when I'm using one of those little spatulas to put something on, that means I don't have to clean out a brush, and that today is a really big deal to me. At this point, I'm not sure if I want to add anything more than this layer, and I'm really sitting on that fence. When that happens, what I find helps me the most is to actually step away and look at it on another day with fresh eyes. So once I get the layer on here, I am going to consider this done for today. Well, thanks so much for joining me for today's play. If you've had fun, if you've enjoyed this video, I'd so appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. And again, thank you for being here and letting me be a part of your colorful journey.